Thompson, as we talked about on the pregame, set the tone for the Warriors. And it was just a vintage night, independent of, hey, the Warriors needed a win. Hey, they need to continue to hold themselves up in the Western Conference standings. This was a monster game for Klay in a game they had to have, with him just as good as he's ever been, really, in his career, a plus 32, and the leadership on full display, carrying this team to a game that they essentially had to have. And another box checked for Klay Thompson along those lines as well, because he did it in the second of a back-to-back. He did it when it looked a couple of months ago as if he may not play any back-to-backs this season, or heck, potentially any back-to-backs for the remainder of his career. If that had been on the table, I don't think anybody would have quibbled with it, given not only the knee injury from 2019, but the Achilles injury from 2020. And not only now is Klay Thompson playing in back-to-backs for the second time, obviously he did it before the All-Star break, but he's able to play and put up vintage Klay performances on the second of back-to-back. So independent of how big this game was for the Warriors to get, and they desperately needed it and all of that, it was also the storyline of Klay Thompson. Another milestone, another box checked, however you want to look at it, in his return toward trying to be the player and the champion that he was at earlier stages in his career pre-injury. There's still a few more clunkers than there used to be, but I think as this season has gone on, there have been a lot more of the vintage Klay games than I think you would have anticipated as far as the way things looked a couple of months ago. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. John Dickinson here on 95.7 The Game, as the Warriors win 116-101 over the Rockets. Now 30-30 on the season, and Klay Thompson, the headliner in this one for the Warriors, as he goes for 42 points, 12 of 19 overall, but he took 17 of his 19 shots from three, and Klay able to score the most points in NBA history for a player who did not make a two-point basket. Most points in NBA history for a player that did not make a two-point basket. A lot of other just notes from this one. The Warriors spectacular from three-point range, as they knocked down 26 tonight, which tied the second most three-pointers in a game in franchise history for the Dubs. They, against Oklahoma City in May of 2021, hit 27 three-pointers, and the Warriors have just obliterated the Rockets from three-point range this season. 26 of 54 tonight. They hit 25 of 52 in December, and in November, 24 of 47 from three in these games. And Klay Thompson's been a monster in his two games against the Rockets, the last two. He went for the 42 in the game tonight, making 12 threes, and then hit 10 threes in the game back in November that he played at in Houston, which was the Warriors' first road win of the season. So the Warriors very comfortable against the young Rockets, and just a historic type night for Klay Thompson, and impressive and much needed, and a night to just kind of soak it all in with the fans here inside Chase Center who were loving every single minute of it. Got some bad news before the game as far as Draymond Green, who Steve Kerr initially had said it looked like he was going to be able to play after going through the pregame warm-up. But Draymond went through the pregame warm-up, was pretty sore, took a knee last night, banged knees, and so he came up sore, and the Warriors rested him in the second of the back-to-back with that injury, even though it looked like he was going to be able to play. And that opened the door for the Warriors to dig deeper against a young Rockets team that has a lot of young players themselves, but in some ways are the perfect team for the Warriors to be more comfortable playing their young players against, with the Rockets having so many of their own and obviously not having Kevin Porter and not having Jalen Green in the fold. And so the Draymond injury essentially meant that Patrick Baldwin Jr. was going to get an opportunity to play, with the Warriors only having 10 players in this one. And so Moses Moody had been penciled in, with Steve Kerr praising him significantly in the pregame press conference, saying, hey, I got to give him a shot. He's been a true professional. Hell, compared him to Kevon Looney with his professionalism and his stability and the way that he's been able to play and really help this Warriors team. And so you look at that, and you knew Moody was going to get a shot to see some minutes that he hadn't been getting of late. And then the Draymond injury means Patrick Baldwin Jr. is going to get some run as well. And tonight was a night where, yes, against the Rockets, yes, against a young team that does have the worst record in the NBA coming in, and it dropped 7 in a row leading up to the All-Star break. But regardless, there were some players on this Warriors roster who hadn't been getting opportunities, who were going to get opportunities tonight, and did get those opportunities and were able to make an impact on a win. And so I think that is something that you also file away as you look at this one. And Patrick Baldwin Jr. made his case in 15 minutes to play a little bit more than he had been, scoring 11 points and knocking down 3 of 5 from three-point range. He looks super comfortable with the ball in his hands on the perimeter, knowing where he has to be within the context of the offense, and his shot is just pure. He just is a knockdown player. Steve Kerr had said before the game that he really projects to be a rotation type player for the future in his NBA career. And as he's played, and tonight was not the first time, as he's played, I've made the point that he does look as comfortable at this stage of his NBA career 4 months in as any Warrior player that the Warriors have drafted in recent memory. And I mean, that Jordan Poole 4 months into his NBA career did not look this comfortable, going back to the pre-pandemic 2019-2020 rookie season. Jonathan Kuminga last year made an impact at different times, but never looked as just comfortable as he has on this as Baldwin has in his minutes. Moses Moody, somebody that I know many Warrior fans have been clamoring for more from, never quite looked this comfortable a year ago at this time. And so I think Baldwin is intriguing because he does the one thing that basically can get you on the floor almost on any team, and that's shoot the basketball. And he seems to be steady enough defensively in the team concept. The Rockets at different points tried to attack him, but he's just an intriguing player as far as his ability to help spread the floor, space the floor, and also just open things up for others on the offensive side. If he can be even remotely competent on the defensive side, he has the ability, I think, to help this Warriors team sooner than later. And I know it's probably not going to be soon enough for a lot of the Warrior fans who had been wanting him to be getting some of Anthony Lamb's minutes with as poorly as Anthony Lamb had been playing of late. Moses Moody, I thought, made an impact tonight for the Warriors, even though he was 1 of 4. He was a +6. And you go through the second quarter tonight, the Warriors, a 13-0 run with the game tied in the second quarter, and the Warriors had a lineup of Moody out there with Anthony Lamb, JaMychal Green. This was before Patrick Baldwin had come into the game. Ty Jerome was out there, and that group was a quick +10, and it ended up being a 13-0 run as Baldwin came in, immediately hit a 3. Baldwin hit another 3 in the first half that stopped a Rockets run, and it was part of this 40-23 second quarter, which really flipped the game, and the Warriors never looked back from that point on after a clunky start that saw them down 7 and had, I think, a lot of murmurs of concern throughout Chase Center as to whether the Warriors would really find themselves in trouble on this night against this Rockets team that came in with the NBA's worst record. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. It's Warriors wrap-up here on a Friday night on 95.7 The Game. John Dickinson with you at the Warriors shop, Thrive City's West Plaza, as things winding down a little bit in here. But, people making a lot of purchases. Good night to grab your Warriors gear. Feeling good off of this Warriors win. Had the opportunity to do Warriors live from here before the ball game, and always great to get out and see Dub Nation and this Warrior fan base, and even more fun when they are happy and celebrating a big win and a legendary Klay Thompson type performance. All right, let's go ahead and get to our hardest worker of the game tonight, which is brought to you by AC Transit.
Jerome down the lane, stripped by Nix. Looney again with the loose ball. The Thompson fading out of bounds. Got it, and he got fouled! Ridiculous. And that brings the crowd to its feet here at Chase Center.
Yeah, that kind of night, Klay Thompson, hardest working player of the game, as if there was any doubt. Klay with the 12 of 17 from 3, 12 of 19 overall, the most points in NBA history for a player that doesn't make a two-point shot. And Klay Thompson, just unbelievable. Fourth 40-point game for Klay of the season. And so Klay, our hardest working player of the game for this one. AC Transit looking for hard workers and is offering a $2,000 bonus for new bus operators and journey-level mechanics to join their team. For complete details and to apply, visit actransit.org/careers. That's actransit.org/careers. Klay Thompson, our hardest working player of the game. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. John Dickinson here on Warriors Wrap-Up as the Warriors' 17th time this season. The Warriors are exactly 500, but they get one they had to have tonight against the Rockets. So back to 30-30, and looking at what is going on a wild night in the NBA. Warriors going to pick up some ground as you look at the standings in the West. Going to pick up some ground on Minnesota with the win tonight as Minnesota lost at home to Charlotte. They'll separate themselves a little bit from Oklahoma City as Phoenix beat OKC 124-115. And right now, maybe the game of the year in the NBA, which is going on right now in Los Angeles, between the Clippers and the Kings. They are tied at 164. It is 164-164 as they are set to go to a second overtime down at Crypto.com Arena. The Clippers had a 14-point lead in that one with about 4 minutes to go. The Kings ended up tying it and forcing overtime, and now they're going to a second overtime with the Clippers and the Kings tied at 164. That is not a misprint. I did not misspeak as they are playing a wild one down in Southern California. And so the Warriors are going to gain on somebody. A couple of teams that are above them currently in the Western Conference playoff races. You look at the standings, the Warriors right now, with their win improving to 30-30 on the season. Golden State, that's enough to move them into a tie now for 8th and really 7th, essentially, because Minnesota's 31-31. Warriors will get a crack at Minnesota at Chase Center here on Sunday afternoon. Pelicans are even, so the Warriors basically in a three-way tie now for 7, 8, and 9, moving in front of Utah, separating from OKC, and an opportunity to pick up on the Clippers or the Kings. Somebody's going to lose that game, assuming it ends here eventually down in Southern California. We'll keep you updated on that. Another half game in the standings to be gained there. The Warriors 2.5 back of the Clippers, 4 back of Sacramento. And so time to potentially gain some ground there for the Warriors, depending on the outcome of that one. All right, let's go ahead and hear from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, as he met with the media, addressed everything about this game, contributions from the young players, and, of course, a lot of questions about Captain Klay and the vintage Klay Thompson performance. Here's the head coach.
It was on a back-to-back. You obviously needed scoring from somebody. How much of that was just Klay gutting it out, and how important a step do you think it is just for him to do this on a back-to-back when everybody knew he had to score?
Yeah, I mean, he was brilliant tonight, and it's just so great to see him now at the point where he can do this. This was his second back-to-back, obviously. First one being just before the break, and I think that night we limited him to 25 minutes. So he looked great out there, not only with the shooting, but his rebounding was a factor, his defense, and playing 35 minutes second night of back-to-back. That's big time.
Klay's shooting percentage inside the arc is barely better than it is beyond the arc. Does that make sense that he would take like 14 of his first 15 shots from three?
It's Klay, so yes.
Is that something that from him that you kind of welcome, though, him taking the threes and maybe not going with the mid-range shots?
I like the mid-range for Klay because he's a great shooter. And those are shots that he's going to have to hit from time to time. Tonight was a night where he found some openings from three. So if the threes are there, we'd rather have that. But depending on what the defense is doing, we need Klay, Steph, Jordan. We need our best shooters shooting, from the mid-range to because it's often just the best shot we're going to get.
Were you considering keeping Klay to a certain number of minutes, and that changes because the way he was playing, and also the way you were playing when he was out was pretty dramatic? Or was this fine to play him this many minutes?
There really wasn't a minutes restriction on him coming in because of how he got through the last one, how he's been feeling. Obviously, having the All-Star break, I think, helped refresh and recharge him. And so we just tried to get him a couple of breaks here and there, but there wasn't a minutes restriction going in.
Was Baldwin in the plans initially tonight?
Yeah. When Draymond went out, Baldwin was automatically elevated into the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Draymond. Concern at all about the knee? I mean,
No.
It sounded like you thought he was going to play pregame.
Yeah, I thought he was going to play, but it was pretty sore. He took a knee last night and pretty sore, and I thought it was clearly the right decision. He's been playing night after night. I thought it was a really good night for him to take off, and then we have tomorrow off, and he should be ready to go on Sunday.
How good was Baldwin for you tonight, though, in that?
It's great. Yeah. Patrick has been getting better and better. He spent a lot of time in the G League, really working hard, getting a lot of good practice time. You can see the way he shoots the ball, but I was thrilled, just to see the other areas of the game. He had a great verticality in the first half at the rim, which thwarted a layup for them. He just mixed it up a little bit, used his size, and he's learning. He's a really good prospect. It's really exciting watching him play because, the game kind of clicks when he's out there. He's the ball moves and he has a good feel for the game. His dad's a coach and he gets it. He understands it, but he's a young guy and he has a lot to learn, but he's on a great path because of the work that he's putting in every day.
He got minutes at the five, obviously with the foul trouble with the two guys, but could Baldwin be a different look for you playing him at the five? Could that be a way that he could sneak his way a little bit into the edge of the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, he's. I would say he's more of a four who we could slide down to the three rather than a five, even despite his size. I look at him more as a 3-4, playing him with Draymond, with Loon, and even potentially both of them because of the way he shoots the ball. He really spaces the floor for us.
You said before the game that Moses would play. He came in the first quarter +6. What impressed you the most about him tonight? Just
did a good job. He just came out and competed and played hard, and the game moved well while he was out there, and I thought Moses did a good job.
And speaking of the mid-range, Jonathan Kuminga had some nice mid-range shots early in the game. How much can that part of the game help him as well offensively?
We like for JK to really attack the rim. He got to the line a couple times. Sometimes, you get into the paint and the drive is cut off and he's got that pump fake. He's drawing a lot of fouls that way, and he's capable of making that little turnaround 10, 12 footer. So JK is coming along well.
Steve, Kavan has 13 or more rebounds in 5 straight games now. I mean, we've seen him do this, but that's pretty remarkable. And that you guys out rebound him just by a handful. What does that say about just what he does every single night.
Yeah, it's his consistency. It's who he is now. He's one of the elite rebounders, per minute in the game. And, I'm so happy for Loon because of what the work he's put in to get himself healthy. 3 seasons ago, I think he played 20 games with the nerve stuff, and he worked so hard. He's really learned a lot from Andre Iguodala over the years. I told the coaching staff, I think Loon is the most mature person in the organization, including the coaches. He's just a grown man who understands the job and puts in the work, puts on the hard hat every day. There's no drama. There's, when we put him in, he plays well. And when we take him out, he understands we're just, taking him out. And it's a joy to coach Kavan. We'd be in huge trouble without him. And we don't win the championship without him last year, and probably a couple more. So what an incredible rock he's been for us over the years.
With knowing everything that Klay has been through, and for him to have a game like this tonight where he has 12 threes, no Draymond, no Steph, and for him to step up in that way, just what is it like to see him, flourish like that?
Yeah, I'm really happy for Klay. He's put in the work. I really loved the fact that he got 7 rebounds. I think, we are challenging him to get on the glass. It's part of his evolution. I think every player, every great player, as they get older, they have to evolve, whatever that means. For Michael Jordan, it meant going down to the block and becoming a low post player. For, Magic, he became a 3-point shooter and a great foul shooter. Didn't shoot the ball well early in his career. So as you get older and you get banged up and injured, all that stuff, you can't just expect to be the same player that you were 5 years ago. And I think Klay understands that. And the challenge is to be better defensively and more vocal and a better leader and a better rebounder and all those things, because within the team he's now the elder, whereas he used to have plenty of elders around him. And so I think that's what I'm excited about, is I can see Klay starting to, figure that out and see that forming with everything he's doing.
Steve, I believe this is the 17th time you guys have been 500 this season. And I'm just curious how much you consider the record when you have a night like tonight where you have so many individual and positive victories, looking at where you guys are at 30-30.
Well, I'm proud of the guys tonight, and they've played hard all season long. We've had a lot of injuries and absences and adversity, and we're hanging in, and that's the point. We've got to hang in. We know that for us to do what we want to do, we've got to be healthy. That's pretty obvious. So if we can hang in there and get healthy down the stretch, then we feel like we can make our run. But we got to get there, and just getting there means we're going to have to win in every game we can until the reinforcements are back.
Going back to your answer to Maddie's question, last night Klay was saying how he and other elders on this team have to step up and be better leaders as you guys kind of navigate this 500 season, but especially over the past couple of weeks with Steph out, and then with Steph out earlier, Draymond out tonight. How have you seen, I guess, Klay take on more of that leadership role really within like the past couple of weeks instead of maybe the overall year since he's returned from his injuries?
He's a guy who has always taken great pride in his play. And I think one of the hard things to do as a player is to kind of get outside of yourself and think about the group and understand what the group needs. These guys all work so hard on their craft and their own minds and bodies. And so it becomes a different role as you get older and you have to take on more leadership. So, he's got to be the guy encouraging the younger players and acknowledging mistakes and keeping the spirit up, and all that stuff is important, and we need that from all of our older guys.
Coach, without Draymond to run the offense through at times, how impressed were you with the way other players picked up some of that playmaking slack, not only in terms of the assists, but just getting you into your offense tonight?
That's a big part of the game for us. When Draymond is out, we have to get organized. I thought Ty Jerome came in, did a nice job of helping out in that regard. And, we just, there were stretches of the game where we struggled to get into our offense. And then we found some combinations that clicked and rode with them and, did enough to get the win.
All right. So Steve Kerr there talking about Klay Thompson and his big night, the young guys contributing, and how can you not mention Kevon Looney and just the ultimate professional and glue guy, 13 rebounds, a couple of key ones, just the stabilizing force, 5th straight game with 10 or more rebounds for Kevon Looney, which matches a career high, 3rd time in his career. As well. Let's go ahead and pause here. We'll come back. We hope to hear from Klay Thompson. 888-957-9570. We'll get to some text messages as well, and we'll wrap this thing up here from the Warriors shop inside Thrive City on 95.7 The Game.
Here at Total Wine & More, you'll find what you love and love what you find.
I'm looking for a whiskey that will blow my buddies away.
This single barrel bourbon is a surefire hit.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, did you hear that? I feel like a rock star.
Well, finding this
3, and the Warriors get a win that they had to have against a Rockets team that came in with the worst record in the NBA. 888-957-9570. We'll hear from Klay Thompson coming up here in just a moment. Want to keep everybody updated on maybe the game of the year in the NBA. I think it probably will, without much question, go down as the game of the year. Sacramento wound up winning tonight against the Clippers in double overtime, 176 to 175. Incredible numbers from this game down in Los Angeles. I'd mentioned in the opening segment the Clippers had a 14-point lead with about 4 minutes to go. The Kings tied it. The Clippers had a 6-point lead with about 2 minutes to go in the second overtime, and the Kings finished the game on a 7-0 run to win it by a single point, 176 to 175 in 2 overtimes. And Malik Monk went for 45 tonight. De'Aaron Fox, 42. And so the Clippers, with the loss, the Warriors gained ground on them now in the Western Conference. And the Kings continue to hold on to the 3rd spot and push a little bit closer toward even the 2nd spot in the Western Conference, as surprising as that is. With Sacramento now 9 games over 500, which is a new high water mark for them. They had been 8 over a bunch of different times and lost each of the times that they had a shot to go to 9. They're able to get to 9 over tonight, and so the Clippers lose, drops them to 33 and 29. So with the Warriors back to 500, they're now just 2 games back of the Clippers, who made a bunch of moves, and Russell Westbrook played for the first time for the Clippers tonight against Sacramento down in L.A., but the Clippers lose that game, so them and Dallas now neck and neck at 5 and 6 in the West, and to get to 6, it's only a game and a half of separation now for the Warriors, even at 30 and 30, and even as bleak as it has looked recently, with the Warriors getting back to struggling away from Chase Center. They're playing better and getting it going again inside Chase Center. The Warriors with 6 of the last 7 now at home. And so it has been the stabilizing factor for Golden State all year long, and as it has been 30 and 30, and they've got 23 home wins and 23 road losses with the inverted records there, 23 and 7 and 7 and 23. And so as rough as the last couple of games were before the break against the Clippers and coming out of the break against the Lakers down in Southern California, the Warriors, every time they've needed to have one, they've been able to get it. And tonight, no different, with Klay Thompson going off for 42 and a plus 32 for the Warriors in the minutes that Klay Thompson was on the floor. A couple of text messages to get to. 888-957-9570 on the Xfinity mobile text line. We're talking about Patrick Baldwin, the 510. Baldwin's father prepared him well. Of course, Baldwin's father, a coach, and he definitely has the look of a coach's son on the floor. Just steady, knows where to be. His shot is sweet looking. I know Steve Kerr before the game had talked about how Baldwin has the shot that's so smooth for a taller player. It's just an unblockable type of a shot, compared it even to Kevin Durant. Not that he's going to be a Kevin Durant type of a player, but just Durant always had that ability to raise, and when he raises, just from where he releases it and being so tall, it's just, you're just not going to get to it. And so Baldwin was a factor for the Warriors in this one. Some of the young players were factors. Ty Jerome helping to stabilize things, as Steve Kerr mentioned during his post-game session. And Baldwin was key tonight, and somebody that maybe doesn't get an opportunity to play if Draymond Green had been healthy and available to play, because he had been buried to a certain extent on the depth chart with others getting opportunities. So Baldwin did this a little bit on that holiday homestand. We'll see if he's able to get more opportunities. I think the Warriors being as shorthanded as they have been, and not having Andrew Wiggins, who's been out with the personal reasons, playing a role in that as well. It led to an opportunity for Moses Moody. It led to an opportunity tonight with Draymond out for Patrick Baldwin Jr. And we'll see if the one thing that I think both players did tonight was they played well enough to earn a tap on the shoulder to go in the game the next night. And it's always evolving as to who's going to get those kinds of opportunities. And the depth chart and who's available and who's not plays a big role in it. But the one thing you have to do is play well when your number is called. And I think we can make the case that Baldwin especially did that tonight. And Moses Moody was a positive impact player for the Warriors throughout the night. In particular, more so I thought in the first half. And Baldwin just looks comfortable. That is just right there in front of you. You can tell that he looks comfortable. More of a cynical view on the Xfinity Mobile text line from the 510. Keys to victory tonight, play a game against a team who can't shoot or defend at home. A win is a win, but they should have blown them out more. I think at this point, and the Warriors are not in the business of rating wins right now. They'll take any win they can get against any opponent, whether it's pretty or ugly, how hard they have to work to get it, to stabilize and still, get Wiggins back, get Steph Curry back, as another texter from the 510 relays, just get hot at the right time. That's the most important thing. There's no team that's that dominant in the NBA. I think there's some Eastern Conference teams that are pretty dominant. I think Boston at 43-17. I think Milwaukee at 42-17. I think those teams are pretty dominant. Bucks have won 13 in a row to essentially pull even with Boston at the top of the Eastern Conference. And then you've got Denver, who's right there at 42-18 and really separating themselves in the West. I mean, Denver's going to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference. Different team than that the Warriors played last year, obviously, with Michael Porter Jr. in the fold and Jamal Murray back, and the Nuggets have revamped their team around Jokic, who's still playing as well as anybody. But beyond maybe those three, and they're really, I would agree with that text wholeheartedly, the fact that beyond those three, there really is not a dominant team. The Suns believe they're probably going to be able to make a run and get into that mix for maybe the 3 or the 2. And then Memphis, I think for the most part, has been underwhelming this season. You look at them at 35-23, and Sacramento. We talked about their win tonight. Sacramento, they win close games and they can score. And tonight might be the most indicative game of the season that they're having. It just exemplifies all of it. They put 176 on the board in 2 overtimes, and they win a game where they give up 175 points. Like, if that's not the 22-23 Sacramento Kings, I don't know what else is. And I had expected, because of the defense, for them to potentially fade, or the lack of defense, but it's looking like they may be able to win 46, 47 games. They've been kind of stuck around 7-8, over 500 for a while now. And, can Phoenix make a run to get to that point? Can the Clippers make a run to get to that point? I think so. But I'm starting to believe Sacramento's going to be in the top 6 and avoid the play-in glut. And that means if you're the Warriors and you want to avoid that, you got to be maybe catching Dallas at 32 and 29. To be able to get in there. So 888-957-9570. Let's go ahead and hear from the man of the night, Klay Thompson, as he met with the media before we call it a night here inside Chase Center Bill King interview room. Here's Captain Klay talking about a big-time performance in this one.
Steve was just saying how special it is just to see how far you've come, that you can now play these back-to-backs and flourish and just shine. I mean, you knew you've thought it would come, and you said it might take time, but how gratifying is it for you to perform like that?
Oh, it's incredibly gratifying. I mean, I always reflect on the years that I was not playing, and I think about the times that I just was sideline watching, and it was a weird time, and now it's easy to put everything in perspective and appreciate nights like this, and just appreciate being able to move my body and play with great pace, great flow, and not even hesitate or think about anything. And I give our performance staff all the credit in the world because they pushed me through some really hard times, and I'm just incredibly grateful for our partnership.
I think 14 of your first 15 shots, I think, were from three. Was it just a matter of getting open shots and taking them, or what was the deal?
I think it was just, like you said, getting good looks from beyond the perimeter. And, I got a lot of great looks off pin downs and split cuts and a couple dribble into threes. So it was just one of those nights where I had the hot hand and it felt great. I can't even lie to y'all.
Your numbers against the Rockets this year have been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? And is that, are you paying these guys back for the years in the past, or what's going on there?
I think it's just coincidence. They're a young team. They got a lot of room to grow. I just think it's coincidence.
Steve said that you're one of the elders now, and with Draymond and Steph out, I mean, how much do you feel like you had to shoulder that responsibility of being a leader tonight and going forward?
I just try to use my voice tonight. I try to be loud on defense, try to be encouraging on the bench. I actually saw a great video of Gino Auriemma talking about his players and how he might not let the girls get in if they don't show great body language, how he watches game film, and he observes his players if they are engaging on the bench and if they're being a great teammate. And that resonated with me a lot. I mean, this year I would be in my own feelings because I wasn't shooting the ball well, or I didn't feel like myself. And after hearing that, Gino's been around so much greatness. It just reminded myself to be a leader. I've been here so long. I got to lead. I got to use my voice. And it was a great challenge for me tonight. I thought I took a good step.
When did you watch that video? And is being like a leader like this something that you're comfortable with, or is it something that you kind of have to work into?
I saw that on an Instagram reel this afternoon, and it was really great. He's an incredible speaker. And then I'm not the most comfortable using my voice, but you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's how you grow into be great. And tonight I just did a good job of leading by example and using my voice.
Kerr said he was almost as happy with your 7 rebounds as he was anything else. And he said they had been emphasizing that to you, or the full game. When have these conversations been taking place, and what does it take for you to commit yourself to the full game?
I actually talked to Steve and Bruce Frazier about it, or Q, and Steve was just telling me how my game needs to evolve as I get older. He used Michael Jordan as an example of how when he got into his mid-30s, he became such an incredible low-post player. Not saying I'm Mike or anything, but I'm just saying like I can evolve in other areas. Q told me I'm going to go down as one of the greatest to ever shoot it, no matter if the ball goes in or not. And he's just telling me to go for triple doubles and round out my whole entire game. And I felt those things because those guys they're straight shooters. They want to tell me I'm capable of those things if I wasn't. So that really resonated with me, and I'm going to try and continue to rebound at a high rate and play make the rest of the season and my career.
When they had that conversation with you?
I had that conversation with Q last week, and me and Steve had a good talk this afternoon.
And was that Jordan trying to take that off the ball free throw there, and did you have to bump him off?
I did, man. I told Jordan when he gets to my colossal age, he can have seniority. He said that's a bad excuse. So I'm like, buddy, it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So I know he was the free throw champ last year, but I think I got a little better percentage this year. So I'm gonna continue to do that. Sorry, young fella.
And Klay, in the past few weeks, you've had some crazy explosions. The 2 12-point games, you had 3 40-point games, and do you feel like at this point, like you're really back? You're playing in back-to-backs. I mean, do you feel like you're at your pre-injury form now?
I don't like to talk about vintage me or am I my old self. I just think I'm being myself, and I was capable of these things in the past. And as long as my wrists still work, my feet work, I'll forever be able to shoot the rock. So it's just about hunting great shots. And tonight I did that.
Yeah, Klay Thompson, he's tamp that down, the talk and the conversation about pre versus post injury a couple of different times, but and I think along those lines is the conversation about evolving and changing the game, and I think we're seeing Klay Thompson become, with Steve Kerr talking about the rebounding and doing different things the way Michael Jordan did as his career went on, and a lot of the great players throughout history have had to do. I think what we're seeing with the evolution of Jordan Poole last year, he's been up and down this year and struggled at times, but I think what we've seen is Klay almost becoming more of a forward in today's NBA, where teams are getting smaller and smaller, and maybe he doesn't have the lateral quickness that he had before as far as defensively being able to guard the spark plug little point guards that run around a lot and have the ball in their hands and are looking to slash and attack the basket, but he's got the ability, and he did in the playoffs and during the finals in particular, to guard threes and guard fours even, and use his strength to his advantage. And I think as Klay moves up, and we've seen the Warriors, whether it's Poole and Steph playing together, DiVincenzo's been in the mix, the Warriors ultimately are going to want to go small as an advantage here, down the stretch once they're whole, and once they can get Steph back and even Gary Payton II, and in the playoffs, they're not going to go bigger. They're going to go smaller. And with the guards that the Warriors have at different spots on this roster, I think that the smartest way to do that is to have a guy like Klay Thompson, who used to be a 2 that guarded a lot of 1s. He may be a 3 or a 4 that guards 3s and 4s at different times, and you start to evolve. But if you're going to do that, you're obviously going to have to rebound the basketball. That was where the Warriors were able to get away with being able to go small last year in the playoffs and have so much success with it. They collectively rebounded the ball well enough to have that stand up. All right, final couple of minutes here. John Dickinson at the Warriors shop in Thrive City in the West Plaza. Warriors beat the Rockets tonight 116-101. Let's set the table for what's coming up here on 95.7. The Game is I'll be back. Quick turnaround tomorrow. Join me and Whitey Gleason as we'll have Warriors This Week for you. That's from 10 a.m. until 1 here on 95.7. The Game is we'll be taking your phone calls, breaking down this one, the vintage Klay performance, and the Warriors finding themselves in survival mode once again as they try to keep themselves afloat long enough to make a run here now with just 22 games to go, and the Warriors at 30-30, 17th time this season that the Warriors have been exactly 500, and they'll try to gain ground on one of the teams that they're tied with in the Western Conference playoff race, the Timberwolves, in at 31-31, and you look at the rest of this homestand for the Warriors quickly here. The Timberwolves are a team that the Warriors are tied with. That's the next opponent Sunday. Then Portland is in. That's a team that the Warriors are a game and a half ahead of them and 1 in the loss column. Then the Clippers are in, who the Warriors are chasing, and just 2 back with the Clippers' loss to the Kings and that epic 2-overtime thriller in L.A. So the Warriors are only 2 back of the Clippers, as loaded as the Clippers are with some of the moves that they've made of late. And then the Pelicans are another team that the Warriors play to close out the homestand, and the Pelicans are the exact same record as the Warriors with 22 games to go, 30-30, and that's a team that's going to have a couple of trips into Chase Center here between now and the end of the regular season. So as bleak as it's looked at times, as much as there's been fits and starts and nights where Klay looks like the vintage old Klay, and other nights where it looks like this Warriors team can't beat anybody, the goal ultimately is still there for them to be had and to be achieved with the 22 games that remain on the season for the Warriors. 11 at home, 11 on the road, but the next 4 at home, where the Warriors find themselves sitting with a 23-7 record, which is 3rd best in the Western Conference. All right, that'll do it. Warriors This Week tomorrow from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Join me and Whitey Gleason for that. And then we'll be back on Sunday from Chase. Early start time. Typically, the Sunday weekend games are 5:30. That's a 4:30 tip, which means 3:30 Warriors Live. I'll have that for you here from Chase as the Warriors take on the Timberwolves. Thanks to Sterling Bennett. Thanks to everybody in our San Francisco studios. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Warriors beat the Rockets 116-101, and you heard it all right here at 95.7 The Game. Good night.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh, yeah. Love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
The Prophetic Matrix. Unlock the secret code to your destiny. A new